4 weeks after Kyle Busch's passing, the NASCAR world came together in mourning. Fans, drivers, teams, and media figures shared tributes, celebrating one of the most talented and controversial competitors the sport had ever seen. But while many focused on Busch's achievements behind the wheel, Tony Stewart found himself looking at something else entirely: the way people were talking about Busch only after he was gone. What began as a heartfelt tribute from Stewart quickly evolved into one of the most debated conversations in motorsports. And now, his comments have divided NASCAR fans across the country. Immediately following Busch's death, Stewart reacted the same way many of his fellow drivers did, with grief. Reflecting on their years together as teammates, Stewart described Busch as a fierce competitor who pushed everyone around him to improve. He acknowledged that they didn't always agree early in their careers, but said their relationship grew into one built on mutual respect. To Stewart, Busch wasn't just a champion driver. He was a teammate, a friend, and someone whose impact extended far beyond the racetrack. For a time, that tribute seemed to capture the mood of the NASCAR community. But several weeks later, during an appearance at Bristol Dragway for the NHRA Thunder Valley Nationals, Stewart spoke again about Busch. This time, however, his tone was noticeably different. Rather than focusing on Busch himself, Stewart directed his frustration toward the public reaction that followed the tragedy. He argued that many people who were now praising Busch as a husband, father, and friend had spent years judging him solely for the aggressive personality they saw on television. According to Stewart, fans and critics often formed opinions about Busch based entirely on race broadcasts, radio communications, and heated moments on track. Stewart's message was simple but controversial. He believed that many people were only now trying to understand who Busch was as a person, long after they had already decided who they thought he was. To Stewart, that was the most frustrating part of the entire situation. His comments immediately sparked debate throughout the NASCAR community. Some fans felt Stewart was being unfair. They argued that ordinary fans can only judge what they are able to see. Unlike teammates, competitors, and close friends, the public doesn't have access to private conversations or personal relationships. For many supporters, the television version of Kyle Busch was the only version they ever knew. Others, however, understood Stewart's point. They agreed that public figures are often reduced to a single image, especially in professional sports. Drivers become characters, personalities, and storylines. Over time, those public identities can overshadow who they are away from the spotlight. But perhaps the most interesting reaction came from those who saw truth on both sides of the argument. Some observers pointed out that if Busch's friends and colleagues knew there was another side to him, perhaps that side should have been shared more often while he was alive. If fans only saw the aggressive competitor, it may be because that was the image that dominated headlines for years. In that sense, critics argued that the gap Stewart was frustrated about wasn't created by fans alone. As the debate continued, Busch's family quietly reminded everyone what Stewart had been trying to say. In one of her first public messages since her husband's passing, Samantha Busch shared an emotional reflection about their family and the future. She revealed a promise she made to Kyle during his final days, that she would continue supporting their children's dreams no matter what. The post focused heavily on their son Brexton and his passion for racing. According to Samantha, racing wasn't something Kyle forced upon his son. It was something they genuinely loved together. The two spent countless hours discussing race cars, working side by side, and building memories around a shared dream. The message was deeply personal. It also highlighted a side of Kyle Busch that many fans rarely saw during his career: the devoted father and family man behind the famous racing persona. In many ways, Samantha's words reinforced Stewart's argument. The public knew Kyle Busch as Rowdy, the outspoken driver who thrived on controversy and competition. But those closest to him knew a different version as well. They knew the teammate, the husband, the father, and the friend.